When I started playing music, no one really talked about vulnerability. You were supposed to pick up a guitar and either be really good in the first place or practice quietly in secrecy until you were. And then, once you were in the rehearsal studio, it was supposed to be just fun. But underneath the surface, a lot of psychology was going on. People were really nervous, had performance anxiety, or fled to the very opposite of vulnerability, this puffed up ego idea that I'm better than everyone else. All of this in turn contributed to more unstable group dynamics and had the result of people rehearsing less, having a harder time staying friends, or just lacking long-term motivation to continue with the project. So in this video, I will show you why embracing vulnerability is the key to both psychological and creative success, and the tools you can use in order to make it easy for you along the way, regardless if you're a writer, a musician, a filmmaker, or a YouTuber. So when I started my own journey towards both feeling better and performing better in my different creative roles, I also in a flash started realizing what I had been running from all these years. Underneath like rockstar attitudes, performance, competition, and at times like bro-ish attitudes in the band was this sense of excruciating vulnerability. Not wanting to be seen as weak, not wanting to be seen as flawed, not wanting to be exposed to the other people as not being competent, or at other times just feeling uninspired, unwilling to do the work, or just insecure about how a creative project would turn out. So as I started realizing the cost of avoiding vulnerability in my creative work, I also started reading up on psychology and practicing meditation and doing a lot of other things in order to, in the beginning, just simply getting away from this emotion and the pain I was feeling in the body. And after some practice, this turned out to be the greatest thing I ever have done to promote creative freedom, happiness, and just enjoying the creative work that I do. So what is vulnerability then? To me, it shows up as two aspects of like the human experience. The first one is uncomfortable feelings in the body. So this could be the heart beating really fast when you're about to perform. For me, it often shows up as like a sense of falling inside the body, falling helplessly inside like a void in the body. It could be anything really, from a sense of discomfort in the hands and the feet to your mouth being dry, or it's being sort of painful in your eyes to look at your collaborators or partners. Apart from the sensations in the body, vulnerability is also a story in the mind. So thoughts like, I'm not good enough, the other will find out I'm not competent, this will never work out, I will not find the money. Whatever thoughts or stories that enter your mind that creates stress or a sense of lack of motivation is also a trigger for vulnerability. And thoughts can also be sort of the secondary stories about what's going on in your body. So thoughts like, this discomfort needs to go away, this heartbeat will last forever, or the uncomfortable sensation in my stomach means that something is dangerous. Those kind of stories is like a part of the conceptual overlay that creates vulnerability in creative situations. So we humans have brains that are programmed by nature to avoid pain and seek pleasure or comfort. And creative work is no exception to this rule. So creative people do a lot of things to seek refuge from this discomfort, either through overperforming, so seeking perfection in their work when it's not really necessary, or by using drugs or alcohol to numb the pain of this vulnerability in their body. Other ways of not having to feel vulnerability could be not showing your work, or procrastinating, or simply not even starting in the first place. So in order to handle this myself, I started diving deeper into different theories of psychology, started meditating, and started doing all kinds of weird therapy in order to be able to stay with vulnerability in a better way. And so the first thing I found really useful for handling vulnerability was a set of techniques called self-compassion. Self-compassion is a way of cultivating friendly speech with yourself. So to be able to comfort and soothe yourself in situations where things don't turn out the way you want it to. A way of holding vulnerability with the same tenderness and care that you would hold a small child or someone else that is not able to defend themselves. So self-compassion can be sort of a way to incarnate your inner kind old grandmother or some other presence that you feel very safe with, and to use this character to take care of loneliness, senses of failure, or any other emotions that comes up during the creative process. So this technique, if you haven't done it before, can seem like super corny in the beginning. But once you get the hang of it, it's a very powerful tool. So apart from feeling cheesy or just plain awkward in the beginning, self-compassion might pose a true challenge for people that are not used to speaking kindly with themselves. So in the beginning you might not notice that much change, but if you stay at it, change will slowly come and you will gradually change perspective on what creativity means and who you are in your own creative process, making it much easier for you both to be vulnerable and to step into your strength while you are creating. And when we're practicing self-compassion, we utilize the fact that the brain has a hard time separating fantasy and reality. So we tend to react the same way if we think fearful thoughts as if we're actually experiencing something fearful. And in the same way, we can use the fact that if we see soothing images or hear soothing voices in our mind, our bodies actually react in the same way as it would if we had someone actually there by our side comforting us or holding our hands and saying that things are okay. So in a sense, we're using our imagination to create a safe space where we could deeply rest, feel accepted and have a deep sense of belonging. And this in turn gets us more motivated to be creative because creativity gets less associated with risk and more with exploration, fun and a sense of community. And when we're doing this, it's important that we practice not to think positively or to try to boost ourselves egoically, but rather to take care of the tender parts so that we don't really need positive thinking. Because oftentimes positive thinking could sort of be an unconscious avoidance behavior. And we want to really cultivate the skill to stay present with even the hard emotions without avoiding them. So that's why we in self-compassion use the soothing behaviors and behaviors that creates a sense of belonging rather than voices that creates like this fighting kind of sense of pep or energy. So the second technique that I found super useful for tolerating vulnerability in creative situations is something called distress tolerance. And this is a technique that is used mainly in mindfulness-based therapies such as dialectical behavioral therapy and acceptance and commitment therapy. So distress tolerance simply means practicing the skill of allowing all negative emotions and thoughts to fill your body and mind without doing anything about it and continue to move in the direction that you value creatively. So in practicing this skill, I've found meditation to be extremely helpful. And in this context, one of the core instructions of meditation is just to be an observer of your thoughts and let whatever emotions or thoughts pop into your mind just be there without acting on them. So practicing distress tolerance is sort of practicing a muscle. In the beginning, you can cope with sort of small senses of discomfort in the body. And after a while, your muscle gets bigger and you're able to handle so much more distress on levels you never even thought possible before. So after a while, negative sensations in the body or negative thoughts are not able to throw you off track, which is hugely helpful when you are in a creative situation where uncertainty and doubt is like a part of the work every single day. So apart from meditation, very deliberately seeking and exposing myself to situations that cause fear or discomfort in the body, but that I at the same time value, has been hugely important for practicing emotional or distress tolerance for me. So what I do is that I define my creative goals, such as being a musician, and then I sort of map out all the behaviors that would be necessary in order to reach that goal. And then slowly I start building the skill of staying present in those situations, even when it hurts or feels painful or scary. Once you do that and you really practice staying present, you quite quickly learn that the situations that seemed to be filled with vulnerability actually aren't that dangerous at all. So practicing vulnerability is sort of the skill of skills when it comes to psychology and creativity. Because if you think of it, if you are not afraid of vulnerability, what is there really to be afraid of? So in a sense, you can think of all the different techniques in this channel as sort of different perspectives on vulnerability and how to be more skilled in dealing with it in your creative work. And so in my life and what I will be sharing on this channel, other techniques have also been super useful, such as techniques for dealing with stressful thoughts, or techniques for soothing and calming your body down, techniques for creating routines and habits around how you work and how you design your workspace, and maybe most importantly, techniques for sharing your vulnerability with others so that you can allow yourself to be deeply seen even when you're not perfect. And all of this with the purpose of not hiding behind perfection, but rather gaining a sense of creative community, fun and exploration together with other people. So all of these techniques will be covered in later videos, and I hope they can all contribute to you showing up the way you are, with all your creative flaws, and just live from a place of wholehearted creative action. So in the upcoming videos, we'll take a look at this in more concrete detail to be very specific about how we go from limitation to creative freedom. So stay tuned, be curious, and thanks for watching.